Hey, Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author, and we are here to talk about the stock market. Today I want to give you 5 tips, 5 ingredients to build wealth. And these are tips that really kind of apply across the board. Obviously, they're going to be a little more investing focused. However, these are the 5 ingredients you're going to need to be successful financially no matter what it is that you're doing. So the first one, we'll start here with income. Now, yes, the more income you have, the easier things get. However, most people don't always see their income in the same way. What I mean by that is, number one, you want to try and be aggressive or at least moderately aggressive when it comes to your income. And when I say that, I mean quit and switch jobs and do that on a regular basis. Now, you might be thinking, well, I've been at this company 2 years. I've been here 5 years. Look, 2 years is enough. 3 years is enough. The quicker that you switch jobs, which is becoming more commonplace now, the faster that your salary can grow. So for example, for me, now I did switch industries as well, but I started off making $45,000 in 2012 as a teacher. Then about 3 to 4 years later, I moved up, switched, got into finance. I started my finance job at 35, so I actually lost money the first year, then jumped up to 50, then 65, then 80, then like 110 or so, and I kept switching every 2 years or so. And the reason why I did that is because, number one, again, data has shown that after about 2 years, almost 3 years, your potential raises aren't the same as someone who is new coming in with all that experience. So keep your resume on point. Use LinkedIn and refresh your work experience, get certifications, do whatever it is to stay on the cutting edge and be aggressive there, because it makes it a lot easier with the more money that you have. Now, yes, you have to budget, right? You can't just make more money and spend more money. But for example, if I'm contributing 15%, which is my metric, right? I like to tell people 12 to 15% is what you should be putting in your 401k. And on yesterday's video, we talked about investing $1,000 a month and what that can do. Well, that's hard to do, right? That's real hard to do if you're only making $2,000. If you're only making $2,000 a month after taxes and half of it goes to investing, and you got bills, and student loans, and groceries, and daycare, it's going to get real thin real quick. However, if I can double my income, or if I can make another $20,000 or $30,000 by switching jobs every now and then while keeping my expenses the same, it gives me the ability to put more into the market. So not just choose a high-paying job or start a side hustle or start a business. Those two things are different in my views. We can do a different video as to why, but those things are extremely important, because I have seen from a client perspective, I've seen clients that, oh yeah, I've got $3,000 or $4,000 to play with every month because I have almost no bills, or I live with my parents and I have all this money left over. Or I've also seen, hey, I'm making $400,000 and I don't have nothing to do with this but to invest it. Well, yeah, that helps, right? Now, if you don't have the income, two things here. That does not mean that the $50 a month that you contribute to invest or less than that, that is still important. Okay, we've talked about that. I've done an entire video. It's actually one of my most popular videos about investing small amounts and how big of a difference it can make. Remember, I started with a very small amount and build things up. But the reason I was able to do that was to switch jobs. And that's the nature of it. Or get promoted within the current job that you're at. So if you're a teacher like I was, maybe administration is the way that you want to go. Maybe I'm switching school districts, same job, different district, or something like that to increase your income. But you do want to be aggressive there if you feel like you don't have enough and your income can change. Or you can keep that same job and say, look, I'm going to go start a business. For me, it was, oh, well, let me write a book. Oh, let me teach classes. Let me do speaking engagements, stuff like that. And these were things I could do to take that extra money and invest more. Okay, so that's one of the things. Be aggressive with your income. See what flexibility that you have in that space. Next thing is manage your debt. Now, when I say manage your debt, I don't mean stop everything in life, put everything on pause, and pour every extra dime that you have towards all of your debt. There's a popular school of thought that feels that you should do that. I do not believe that, because tip number 4 or 5, depending on how I spit these things out, it's gonna fit differently. So when I say manage your debt, what I mean is try to, if it's student loans particularly, or maybe an auto loan or something like that, pay that while also investing at the same time, and really treat your debt differently. Each debt is different. Your student loans and how those are treated, whether it's public or private, is different than a car loan. That is different than a credit card. It's very different than a credit card. Credit cards are way more expensive. So yes, I would aggressively avoid credit card debt whenever possible. Pay down credit card debt, more than the minimum balance whenever possible. Student loans, they'll get paid when they get paid. Okay, if you got some extra, sure. But if you're asking me if I had an extra $200 a month, am I going to pay down the loan or am I going to invest in the market? 9 times out of 10, I'm investing that in the market because it is usually much better off in terms of what I'm earning in the market versus the interest rate that I'm paying on my loan. That depends if that's public or private though. So all of these things are very different. It's not all debt is bad across the board, right? It's how much am I paying on the debt? What is the debt? How quickly can I pay it off? How much is it? And what are the other goals and things I'm trying to accomplish? So you always want to take a good look at it and manage it properly. So for me, my financial life, I don't do credit card debt. I do credit card. I don't do credit card debt. That's a difference, right? So I will swipe a card. I will get my little 1.5% cash back on every purchase every day. If you know that, it's Capital One. I own Capital One, so also the commercials everywhere. But aside from that, I get my little 1% cash back, and within 2 days, I'm paying off that credit card. I have not in my life to this point in time ever paid an interest charge because I pay it off every single time. Now, it's also because I have an emergency fund as well, right? And we talked about the importance of saving and we did an investing versus saving video this week. So, if I ever ran into an emergency, my savings is where I go first before I reach for the credit card, which is why you want to build those things in order. So, number one, as we had talked about, was making sure that you're being aggressive with your income. Number two is managing your debt. The next thing is time. You have to start as soon as you possibly can, which means if you're watching this video right now, you need to start investing now. Like right now. If you do not have an investing account at all, you've never invested, we're gonna do this together right now, like literally right now. So first, if you have a 401k at your job and you're putting money into it, that is investing. I don't know why people don't think that it is, but it is. That counts. If that was the only thing you were doing, you were putting 12%, 15% there and just being prudent with that, you're actually investing and you're doing quite well. But if you don't, maybe you don't have a 401k yet, maybe you don't have a job yet, right? Or maybe in between jobs, but you still want to invest and you want to do something right now, I'll put a link in the bio. This is, I'll put the public link there. You'll get a free stock, I'll get a free stock, and you'll be able to follow me and see all of my investing tips every day, almost like YouTube, where you should like and subscribe and do all those things. But the reason why I say that you want to do it right now is because time is one of the most powerful factors when it comes to investing. And the more time you have, the less money that you need to invest, which makes things a lot easier for you. So for my kids who are 1 and 3, as of the time of this recording, $50 a month for them can easily make them a millionaire. $100 a month for them can easily make them a millionaire. If I have to start at 30, if I have to start at 35, I have to start at 40, I'm not going to get away with that. Okay, it's going to take me way more money, or I have to invest until I'm 80 to hit that same millionaire mark. Whereas my kids, maybe 25, 30 years old, by just investing that little amount consistently over time, they can be millionaires by the time they're my age, as opposed to starting at 0. The sooner you invest, the more you can compound. Even in a time like this, where the market is not your friend, or at least it doesn't feel like your friend right now in end of January 2022. But those who invested, but people who invested in January 2020, you're still up. You made some money. People who invested in January of 2000, they're still up. They're fine. Same thing for those who invested in January of 2010 or any month. Time is going to be the factor, because remember that investing is about compounding, and it's how many times can that money stack on top of itself. So if I'm investing, let's say $100, and I'm picking a company, I'm trying to pick a new company instead of repeating the same ones, but let's say Home Depot, that's a new one. I invest in Home Depot, it pays me a dividend, and then it grows some. And then that's in 1 month or 1 year. Well, if I can only do it for a year, that's it. It didn't get to compound. But if I'm doing it for 20 years, then those dividends starts to stack up, and then you invest those dividends, and then the company grows, and then it grows some more, and then you put more money in, and it just really expands a lot faster than what you think. If you go back and watch yesterday's video, when we talked about how long does it take to become a millionaire, you can actually see the chart and go on that website on bankrate.com and see how that stuff compounds. You will only put in $100 a month. But at one point, or at some point rather, the math starts to shift. And while you're putting in 100, the money that you've invested is putting in more money. So it's that compounding interest. It's the interest on top of the interest. So for example, for those that don't know, I did a video on compounding interest quite a while back, but you put in, let's say you make 10% on $100, then you've made $10. Then that $10 makes another 10%. You smash that all together, right? Now you've got like, what, 111. Then you go put that 111, you keep it in the market, and it starts to grow. And then it just spirals and spirals and spirals and spirals, where you're having your money make money for you. And the longer you do that, the easier it is to become wealthy by having that time factor. And again, this is probably the most valuable one, because I didn't get to invest when I was born. Like, Public wasn't out there, Robinhood wasn't out there, the Fidelities, the apps, none of that stuff was out there when I was born. And had my parents just invested $100 in something like Apple, I could have started out at age 20, 21 with $800,000. Very small amounts of money, but I could have had $800,000, but now I don't have that. That time, that 20 years or 21 years or so, that's gone. I do not have that time. So right now is your chance to start that at whatever dollar amount you want to start it at. The key word is to start. So there's a link below for Public. That's one of my favorite investing apps. Super easy to get started. You can follow me and you'll have tons of investing tips, including the stuff I invest in. All right, so that one is time. Now the next thing is to obviously invest. That's what this channel is about. You got your savings. You should always have a savings account. We've talked about the importance of saving that and how it helps you to become a better investor. But the other part of this is you want to make sure that obviously your money grows. What you invest in is going to depend on what you believe in, how aggressive you're going to be, and that's going to be a big determinant too, because a Walmart is not going to grow, or even a Home Depot. Walmart and Home Depot are not going to grow the same way that historically an Apple has, or Microsoft has, or AMD, which is a semiconductor chip maker. That's fine, right? But those other companies pay dividends. You've got to decide what works best for you. Maybe you want to adjust that over time. That's totally fine. But you got to invest it. And you might be afraid at times like this. However, remember that time factor plays a part in this. And the longer you give things time to work out, you're going to be fine. More likely than not, you stick with this channel and you start to understand what's going on and why. If you've been paying attention and you signed up for the alerts, not only just for this channel, but if you did like Yahoo Finance or CNBC or something like that, then you've seen a lot of the good news that we've had, even though the market is down, about how a lot of these banks have done quite well. Like Morgan Stanley, they're expecting, Morgan Stanley and Bank of America are expecting higher profits in 2022. Because of what? Because of raising interest rates. Where have you heard that before? We've been talking about that for quite a while. So this is why one of the reasons why we're patient, and we're just going to let things play out. So you got to invest. You got all the stuff you could possibly need to invest. You can find it here. You can find it in the link section below. You can find it on my website. You can find it on my email list. All that stuff is there. So you are covered there on that part of it. So obviously, yes, you need to invest. And then the final part of this, and let me check my notes real quick, make sure I got everything. The final part of this is having a process. And this really ties a bow into everything. When it comes to investing, when it comes to managing your budget, which is, that cash flow management, that income management, whatever technical term you want to call it there, you have to have a process, something that's repeatable, something that says A, B, and C. If this happens, I do this. If this happens, I do this, so that you take out the decision-making process and the confusion and the variables. So what I mean by that is having a clear process whatever the market is going to do, whatever job I have, whatever my income is, it makes sure that I'm consistent. So when I was making $45,000, when I was making $35,000, when I was making 115, the process was still the same. I talked about this in a previous video as well, where it's that 50-30-20 rule, where I tried to make sure that from what I was spending, my rent, my loans, whatever it was, that was going to be 50%. 30% is for me to spend, and then 20% is for me to save and invest. It didn't matter what I was making because I had a system for it. It doesn't matter how much I have in the market, whether it's $100 or $500,000 or $50,000. The process is I do my research, I invest, I let it ride out for 6 months, and then I come back and reevaluate and say, hey, I'm keeping this or I'm going to get out of this. That's the process, and it worked. And the reason why the process works is because, one, the research behind it, but two, I tend to be consistent, and that experience tends to build upon itself, and that's what helps me in times like this. Again, income changes, that system stays the same. Market drops, the system stays the same. So it keeps me disciplined and balanced, and usually has me in the perfect spots more often than not. But if you don't have a process, if you don't have any rules for if this happens then do this, then it's going to be complicated, and then you're gonna, some things you're gonna get lucky, say, oh my God, I made money on this day, this is great, and then you try it again and then something doesn't work because you didn't have a clear and defined process. Now, I am a process freak. Everything has a process here. Everything. So you don't have to be as process oriented as I am. I'm like type A in that regard. However, your money does need one. I think it's important to have one for your budget. I like the 50-30-20 rule. Other people like other stuff. That's just my personal process. When it comes to investing, y'all know my process. We talk about it all the time. You got my research process. You got that. That's here on the channel, as well as my investing process. That is also here on the channel too. And that's how I know whether or not to buy and sell. Because that's a question you guys ask all the time. Why did you sell Capital One? It was down. Because rates are going up. Capital One makes a whole lot of money on auto loans and credit cards. That'll help them. Okay? So, and it's a bank. Ta-da. Now we'll see if we're right. We might be right, we might be wrong. You can have a process and be wrong. You're not going to be perfect, but you will usually be in the right spots at the right times. And when you need to change something in the process, when you have it written down, you can easily go back and tweak little parts to make it better, as opposed to I didn't have a process written out and now I'm changing everything and I don't know what was right and what was wrong, or what worked from process A and what worked from process B. When you have a good formula, you go back, you tweak certain things until you get it the right way that you want to get it. Even in my business, even in the articles that I write, from the books that I write, have a process. And when you put all this stuff together, the process of how I write a book, or the process of how I write an article, those things feed into my income, because I can write articles, get paid from that, can write books, get paid from that. That increases my income. The income that I use can help me manage my debt. The income I use from those processes can help me to invest more and invest better. And you can start to see how all 5 of these work together to make you a wealthy individual. And yes, it does take time. Yes, you have to tweak that process and create that process and decide how you want to make your money. However, all these 5 factors are still constants. These are the things that are going to help you in any situation, regardless of where you are. So again, you want to make sure that you are being aggressive to moderately aggressive with your income. I've seen it time after time after time with my clients. You make sure you're giving yourself enough time, which means that you want to start early. Links below for all the stuff that you have there. You want to make sure that you're managing your debt. You obviously want to make sure that you're investing, and you want to make sure that you have a defined process for the things that you're doing, including investing, including managing your income and managing your debt. Boom. That's it. That is the 5 things that you need to create wealth in this crazy world and environment. They do work. I promise you they work, because it's worked for me. But also, anybody who has been successful with investing and with finance, I guarantee you they have it. Even with the people I disagree with. Like, I'm not a huge, y'all know this, I'm not a huge Dave Ramsey fan, but he does have a process. It may not be my process, but he got one, right? And y'all saw me, I don't agree at all with a lot of what Robert Kiyosaki has out there in the world, but he got a process too. That little 4 quadrant thing, he got one. I got one too. It's in my book. It's called The SIP System: Save, Invest, Protect. You can get the book and find out what that process is, but it's there and all that stuff is there. So, all right, that is it for me. I will talk to y'all later. If you want to learn more about the processes that I have, especially creating your own six-figure income plan, which, you know, one of the big processes is inside of that class as well. That's totally free. Take action now. Make sure that you are taking that first step and, you know, taking advantage of time and starting that right now. All right, that's it for me. I'll talk to you guys later.